Jeffrey, the boy, our main man, Jeffrey Epstein.
About to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the story we're going to go over today. Look, we know that Bill Clinton knew Ghislaine Maxwell. We know Trump knew her as well. We know he wished her well, but previously this was...
If Elaine Maxwell names 10 people for a pardon and they arrests like an assload of people with her pardon, she deserves a pardon. Oh, Don, you're gonna pardon someone who worked with a pedophile? If it's worth getting more people in jail, yes. The pain of one person is worth getting more than one person in jail. Absolutely. Absolutely. She deserves the pardon if she can get others incriminated.
Was unthinkable, as she is literally the only person, the only co-conspirator who's ever faced any consequences for the abuse that Epstein did. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison and was charged, among other things, for perjury, aka lying, although she was never ultimately tried for it because they went after the heavier counts. However, Maxwell is appealing her conviction, and her lawyer has been pushing to get this in front of Donald Trump. This is a quote from her lawyer, quote, "I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. He's the ultimate deal maker. I'm sure he'd agree that when the United States gives its word, it should keep it." Of course, referring to the non-prosecution agreement that Epstein had with prosecutors back in 2007. This all came to a head today when Trump was asked if he would consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, and he wouldn't rule it out.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if
it's something I haven't thought about. It's really something. It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have.
If he does it, there better be 10 heads rolling. It is worth doing if they get other people.
Not thought about.
But you wouldn't rule it out.
So rather than just say no, he says, look, I'm actually allowed to do it. He won't rule it out. And of course, this friendliness wasn't just shown there. It's been shown for years. Trump famously said he wished her well when referring to her trial that was upcoming.
I just wish her well, frankly. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty.
So, yeah, that's not great. And then now, his deputy attorney general is meeting privately with Maxwell. Of course, everybody was okay with the idea of her testifying in public in front of Congress, but that's not exactly what happened. Instead,
I think there should be 2 JOP from the House of Representatives and 2 Democrats from the House of Representatives in this meeting with Todd Blanche, so you could say it's fair and they're not hiding something. That 2 representatives from both parties get to see what is going on with Elaine Maxwell.
what Todd Blanche did was privately meet with her in a meeting that nobody was allowed to see. And he said in a statement, "Today I met with Ghislaine Maxwell and I'll continue my interview of her tomorrow. The Department of Justice will share additional information about what we learned at the appropriate time." Of course, that's brought to you by the same people who said they'd release additional credible evidence. So we don't exactly know what that means. And when Maxwell returned to prison, she returned with a white box of materials, which a lot of people, myself included, found very strange because she left with nothing. We also have to note that Todd Blanche was Trump's personal lawyer, so some people are calling it a conflict of interest. Even though he is no longer the personal lawyer, he is now the deputy attorney general. Now, Ghislaine's lawyer gave some statements on the matter. He claimed that she answered all questions truthfully during her DOJ interview and now says she is seeking a pardon, though she says she hasn't approached Trump about it directly, but that they hope a pardon is in the works.
We haven't spoken to the president or anybody about a pardon just yet. And you know, listen, the president this morning said he had the power to do so. We hope he exercises that power in the right and just way.
So they haven't approached him yet, but they hope he'll do it. Look, this is all laying the groundwork for a possible pardon for the only person who has ever been convicted, with many people pointing out this is a huge conflict of interest because, of course, the guy who controls the pardons also may be implicated in this, and Maxwell stands to basically clear him of all wrongdoing.
Seriously, do you think Elaine Maxwell is going to say Donald Trump is on the Epstein files? Hell no, she isn't. If she is the one seeking the pardon from the man that holds it, she will not say anything bad about Donald Trump because it would jeopardize her will and way to get the pardon. There's no other way to look at it.
For the right favor. Now, it's been reported just now from the New York Post that Ghislaine Maxwell gave the DOJ about 100 different people linked to Jeffrey Epstein, so we don't know how much of that is true. Again, all these meetings are behind closed doors, which is what I and many people have such a problem with. Why not do this in public instead of these backroom deals? Because let's be clear, we all want more people tried. So the idea that the DOJ got info on 100 different people, it all sounds promising, but is it enough to bring charges? Is it enough to actually implicate people? That is the real question behind all of this. Do we actually see real prosecutions from this, or is this more transparency theater and actually a cover-up? In fact, there are already rumors coming out from some sources at ABC News that Ghislaine Maxwell may have already been granted a limited form of immunity to testify in the first place, presumably only for the new information that she's talking about. But still, it does seem like a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell is very much on the table, very much possible, and it's sick to imagine that the one person who's ever faced any consequences for the most notorious trafficker of all time might get away with
much as a group that there simply aren't enough with steady jobs and earnings for non-college.
This was on something else. That was the end of the video. Yeah, I completely agree with them, though. I do think if they are able to get and convict other people, I think they should be able to get her. Absolutely. If she deserves the pardon, if she can convict other people with her pardon, it's well deserved. Let's move on.